Shout out Russ D, thanks for the shirt. I look great. Welcome to the Bourbon Van. My name is Phil, and welcome back to a series that many of you have been asking for to return in its original format. This is Whiskey in the Van Wednesday, and the idea behind this series originally is that I would just sit in the van and share my thoughts on some whiskeys, talk about comparable bottles, and help you decide if a whiskey was right for you. Well, we kind of got away from that for a while because Julie and I kind of like the conversational style that we had going on with some other videos. But enough people have asked about this one, and Julie goes on the road enough with her work, and with this last trip that she was leaving for, she said, give the people what they want. So we're going to give this series another go, and if it's your first time watching a Whiskey in the Van Wednesday, we check out the nose, the palate, the finish, talk about the overall experience, and then ultimately we'll talk about comparable bottles and talk value. And so a couple things to keep in mind here. Number one, I am not an expert at all. I just like whiskey. I drink a lot of whiskey. Sorry, Mom. And number two is that everybody's palate is different. And number three is that pricing is wild all across the country right now. So Oregon, price-controlled state, no sales tax. What I get for $50, you might get for $30 or $80. And so talking about comparable bottles at the end of these videos hopefully will give you a reference point on whether you should pursue these bottles yourself. And that brings us to today's bottle. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we posted on Instagram a story with Julie cork popping this bottle of Jack Daniel's aged 12 years.
Ooh, even outside.
And we've never had a response like we got on that story. So many people asking us, is it good? Should I get it? So the reason that we didn't do a review of this bottle already and we wanted to wait a couple of weeks is because of another bottle from Jack Daniel's that came out last year, aged 10 years. It was the first batch of that particular product. We liked it at first, but we returned to it a couple weeks after we opened it, and it had become a little bit one note. It was really more dried banana chips and less butterscotch, caramel, all the other flavors that made it great when we first tasted it. So we were hesitant to do a review of aged 12 years. So now that it's been a couple of weeks, I'm going to get into this and we will check out the nose, the palate, the finish, and I'll let you know if it's still as good as it was when we opened it. On to the nose. It's just a beautiful nose. So this one obviously aged 12 years. This is 107 proof, which is really my favorite place to do my drinking. If you follow this channel at all, you know there's a lot of good bottles in that 105 to 110 proof range. And this, of course, is batch one of this product from Jack Daniel's. There's just so much brown sugar here. There is the Jack Daniel's profile. It's a little nutty, it's a little banana-tastic, a little bubblegum, butterscotch. There's a lot to like here, but primarily sweetness and sweet oak. And it seems like that 12 years really did a lot of nice favors to this whiskey. I think that means it's time to go in for a sip. Let's start the Wednesday. Cheers. Light brown sugar is just the star of the show here. It's absolutely delicious. There's a little heat to let you know that you're drinking over 100 proof, but that is very flavorful. First blush, a little cinnamon, maybe almost a French toast thing going on there, but that light brown sugar, there's so much of it. There's just so much of it. Caramely, satisfying. I'm very happy to report that this bottle has not fallen off at all. I'm still very, very happy with this one. Super glad that I pulled the trigger on it. By the way, this is not a readily available bottle out there for those that are wondering. This is a limited release. I wouldn't go as far as saying that it's highly allocated. I think it can be difficult to find out there, and we got this bottle for $85 locally. Again, no sales tax in Oregon, so that's all in. I have to say, as much as I enjoyed sip 1 and as much as the finish is lingering with all those good things that I found on sip 1, I want another one, sip 2. There's a fruit that comes through. I want to say that's blackberry. It's like a cobbler. It's so good. It's so desserty. It's so flavorful. I just realized my face is getting pink. It is hot here in Central Oregon. In the van here, ooh, I'm starting to build up some sweat on my head. It's not just the whiskey. It's not just the heat. It's a nice combination of the two. Still enjoying this whiskey though. The fruit that came through on sip 2 is super, super satisfying. 12 years, sometimes you might think that there's going to be some bitterness there. I don't get that at all. I'm finding tons and tons of sweetness. The heat is continuing. There is a Tennessee hug going on. I like that very much. I'm going to go for one more sip just to see if I find anything different, but sips 1 and 2 were fantastic. They matched the nose really well. I'm very satisfied with this whiskey. Yeah, baked goods and happiness. That's fantastic. I like this whiskey very much. There's not a ton to say about it. I think it's obvious that for $85, I think that this is a pretty good value. Now I think we need to talk about comparable bottles, and I'm going to get right to it. 1792, aged 12 years, lower proof than this, can also be very hard to find. We got that bottle for $50 the last time we bought it, and I would way rather have this bottle. I think it's much more satisfying. Other bottles that are in that $85 price point, $75 gets you ECBP around here, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. A123, I'm still going with the A123. B523, I'm going with this Jack Daniel's 12 year. Remus Repeal Reserve, that's in the price range there. We get that for about $100 here, so it's a little more expensive than this. Batch 5, I would go with the Remus. Batch 6, I would go with this Jack Daniel's 12 year. Trying to think if there's anything else in that price point or even proof point. I guess Nelson Brothers Reserve Bourbon is 107 proof. I would much rather have this aged 12 years from Jack Daniel's. And I don't know, I guess there's a lot of would you rathers out there, but I guess that's where I'm opening this up to you. Have you had the Jack 12? What do you think of it? What do you think of its value? And if you haven't had it and you're wondering this or that, would you rather, feel free to ask about any bottle that you're contemplating against this one, and if we've had it, we'll let you know our thoughts on it. But I think it's pretty safe to say that Jack Daniel's has hit a grand slam with this bottle. It's absolutely delicious. $85, I think it's a fair price, especially for 12 years aged at 107 proof. I think they've done a lot of good things here, and it makes me actually curious about the new batch of 10 year. We didn't try that one this time around, but maybe we will keep our eyes open for that one. So let us know, have you had Jack 12? What did you think of it? What are you buying instead of it? Do you like Whiskey in the Van Wednesdays in this format? Would you like to see more of these? And from wherever we are to wherever you are, cheers. This would probably be better if Julie was here.